When everyone expected the dog to attack, he sat, silent, still. Then the prisoner whispered just one word, "Ranger," and the whole room froze. What the officers didn't know was that the man in chains once trained this dog to kill. It was quiet in cell 13, the kind of quiet that doesn't soothe, it smothers. Logan Creed sat on the edge of his bunk, staring at the floor like it owed him answers. His wrists rested on his knees. His hands, those scarred, calloused hands, didn't shake. Not yet. He'd been in this concrete box for 7 years, long enough to forget what a sunrise looked like without bars in front of it. Outside his door, the guard said nothing, just slid open the tray slot. "Last day," the man muttered, not quite able to look Logan in the eye. "Warden says you get one final request. You sure about it?" Logan nodded slowly. His voice came out like gravel, soaked in regret. "I want to see the dog." The guard blinked. "Dog?" "The K9, Logan said. "The one from the arrest. German Shepherd. His name's Ranger." There was a pause, a long one. "You don't want to see your mom? Priest? Lawyer?" Logan looked up. "They're all gone. Just the dog." Officer Jalen Brooks tightened the leash around his hand. Across the gate, Ranger paced in his kennel, not barking, not whining, just moving in sharp, controlled lines, like he was waiting for something, or someone. "He's not ready for this," Mancini, the older handler, said over his shoulder. "You don't bring a K9 into a death row goodbye. That's not protocol." Jalen shrugged. "Warden approved it. Why would a convict want to see a K9? Jalen crouched in front of the bars. Ranger stopped pacing, stared right at him. "I don't know," Jalen said quietly. "Maybe he's not just a K9 to him." 6 armed guards stood in a silent row. The lights above flickered once, and no one breathed. Logan Creed sat at the center of the room, shackled at the ankles, his wrists cuffed to a chain loop on the table. He looked smaller than he had in his mugshot. Older, too. The door opened. Boots echoed. Then claws. Jalen stepped in with the leash in hand, and at his side, Ranger. The German Shepherd tensed immediately, hackles raised, muscles coiled. A low, dangerous growl escaped his throat. The officers readied their weapons. Ranger lunged forward once, fast, direct, trained for takedown. But Logan didn't flinch. He didn't blink. He just raised his chained hand, barely a few inches, and whispered, "Ranger." The dog froze, mid-lunge, like someone had pulled his soul back. He sat, silent, still. Everyone in the room just stared. Logan's voice cracked the silence once more. "You remember me?" "Don't you, boy?" Ranger sat, just like that, calm, still, staring. The growl vanished from his throat like it had never existed. The guards didn't lower their weapons. They didn't move at all, because something unspoken passed between man and dog. Something that didn't make sense to them, but it made perfect sense to Ranger, and to Logan Creed. "Good boy," Logan whispered, eyes locked on the dog's. "You remembered, after all this time." Jalen's grip on the leash tightened, confused. "Ranger," he said firmly. "Back, heel." The dog didn't respond. He just kept looking at Logan, ears forward, tail low, not wagging, not aggressive, just alert, waiting. Jalen took a cautious step forward. "You knew this dog?" he asked, tension thick in his voice. Logan nodded slowly. "Trained him myself. Afghanistan. He wasn't Ranger then. His name was Duke." Jalen's eyes narrowed. "You're saying this is your dog?" "Was," Logan corrected with a hollow smile. "But I guess they gave him a new name when I stopped being useful." The guards exchanged uncertain glances. Even the warden, who stood silently in the observation booth behind the glass, leaned in. "You expect us to believe that?" Jalen muttered. "That a convicted murderer used to be a war hero?" Logan didn't answer. He just kept talking to Ranger. "Remember the river outside Kandahar? You hated swimming. Had to drag you in the first time." Ranger's ears twitched. "You still got that scar on your paw?" Logan asked softly. "Barbed wire, right before that night ambush." The dog let out a quiet, breathy sound, almost a whine. In Logan's mind, the prison walls vanished. He was back in the desert, boots heavy with sand, rifle strapped across his chest, and Ranger, no, Duke, was at his side, panting, eyes sharp, tail sweeping the dust behind them. They'd saved lives, once, before everything fell apart, before the orders he couldn't follow, before the betrayal, before the court stripped him of his badge, and the world stripped him of everything else. Jalen stepped closer. "What do you want with him, Creed?" Logan looked up. For the first time, his voice cracked, just a little. "I wanted to see if there was anything left in this world that remembered the man I used to be." Jalen's jaw tightened. He looked down at the dog. Ranger hadn't moved. He hadn't broken eye contact. And, hey, if your chest felt heavy hearing that, if even part of you wonders what this man did to lose everything, or if he deserves a second chance, hit that subscribe button. It's free. But it shows us these stories still matter, that somewhere out there, people still care what happens next. If you were in Officer Brooks's position, would you trust the dog's reaction, or stick to what the paperwork says about Logan Creed? What would you do? Tell us in the comments. Nobody moved. Ranger remained frozen in place, eyes glued to Logan. The guards were restless now. One hand twitched on a holster. Another coughed nervously, shifting weight from one foot to the other. Jalen finally broke the stillness. "Enough of this," he said. "He's trained. He responds to voice cues, scent memory. Doesn't prove anything." Logan didn't even look at him. His eyes were still on Ranger. "I used to feed him out of my own hand," he murmured. "Woke up to his nose in my ribs every morning." Jalen rolled his eyes. "This isn't a fairy tale, Creed. You're not some fallen hero waiting to be rescued by a dog." The warden watched closely. Her arms were folded, jaw tight. "Do we know if there's any official connection between the two?" she asked one of the assistants beside her. "No documented link," they replied. "The dog's history prior to K9 acquisition is vague. Came in through a military surplus program." She narrowed her eyes. "Find out more, fast." Jalen pulled Ranger back a step. "Let's go," he said firmly. The dog didn't budge. Jalen gave a short tug on the leash. Still nothing. "Ranger, heel." The shepherd glanced at Jalen, then looked back at Logan. That moment, small as it was thunder in Jalen's chest. He looked at Logan again. "You knew exactly what this would do, didn't you? You knew if you said his old name, he'd remember." Logan didn't answer directly. He just whispered, "I needed to know I wasn't crazy." The walls were closing in. This was supposed to be a quick farewell. A man, a dog, a goodbye. But now, officers were whispering. Phones were ringing. The warden was still behind the glass, unmoving, watching. And Logan? He looked more alive now than he had in years. Jalen's voice dropped. "Why now, Creed? Why not say something in court? Why wait until your execution date?" Logan met his eyes, and for once he looked almost ashamed. "Because I didn't want to fight anymore," he said, "until I saw him walk in that door." Delgado, the senior guard, stepped forward. "Time's almost up. You got 5 minutes, Creed." Jalen turned to him. "Wait, I think we need more time." Delgado raised an eyebrow. "More time? For what? So he can spin stories to a dog?" Jalen hesitated. Ranger moved closer to Logan, sat beside him, pressed gently against his leg. Delgado saw it and scoffed. "You think that proves anything? These animals bond quick doesn't mean he belongs to him." Jalen looked down at the dog, then at the man in cuffs. "Yeah," he said softly, "but I've never seen Ranger sit next to a suspect like that." Logan Creed should have been taken back to his cell by now. Instead, he sat in a locked, windowless transfer room with one steel bench, a flickering bulb, and the dog still at his feet. Ranger hadn't moved. Jalen Brooks leaned against the wall, arms crossed, the leash still wrapped loosely around his wrist. He didn't say much, but the confusion in his eyes was louder than words. Outside, a storm was rolling in, thunder low and distant. Inside, silence. And then the warden's voice buzzed through the wall intercom. Hold him in the transfer room until we verify the dog's service history. No further movement until I say so." Logan chuckled dryly, looking down at Ranger. "Funny. First time they've let me be alone with anyone in years, and it's you." Ranger nuzzled his knee gently. Jalen watched, still unsure whether he was witnessing manipulation or something real. "Tell me the truth," he said finally. "Was this all some stunt? Some way to delay the inevitable?" Logan looked up, eyes tired, honest. "I didn't ask to live, officer," he said. "I asked to see, just once. I needed to know if he'd remember me, before I disappeared from this world completely." The rain started tapping against the vents above them. "You're military?" Jalen asked, slowly walking toward him. "Is that even true?" Logan nodded. "2nd Battalion, Army K9 Unit, overseas 6 years. Duke was assigned to me after his first handler got hit by an IED. Jalen raised an eyebrow. "So why'd you end up here?" Logan was quiet for a moment. Then, without looking at him, "Wrong place, right intentions, no proof." "Double homicide," Jalen muttered. "That's not just a misunderstanding, Creed. Unless you didn't pull the trigger," Logan said. "Unless you showed up to stop it and didn't make it in time." Jalen paused. He was trained to resist manipulation, but Logan wasn't pleading. He wasn't performing. He was just tired. "I lost everything that night," Logan said quietly. "My rank, my pension, my freedom. But what haunted me most?" He looked down at Ranger. "I thought he died too." The dog let out a soft, brief whine, and something shifted in Jalen's chest, a crack. Logan finally asked, "What do they tell you about dogs like him?" Jalen hesitated. "That they're tools, replaceable. They follow the strongest hand." Logan shook his head. "No, they follow the one who loved them right." He reached his cuffed hands down. Ranger rested his head on them and didn't move. At this point, "Do you think Officer Brooks should push to delay Logan's execution? Or walk away and follow orders? What would you do? Drop your thoughts below." The rain had become a steady hum on the roof above them. Jalen leaned against the wall, arms no longer crossed, his posture more open now, like something inside him had softened. Ranger lay at Logan's feet, eyes half closed but still alert, still loyal. The silence between the two men had turned from tense to heavy. Finally, Jalen broke it. "What really happened that night?" Logan's jaw tightened. "I gave up trying to explain a long time ago," he said. "I'm not asking for a court defense," Jalen replied. "Just talk to me, like a man." It was supposed to be a quiet visit. Logan had come home on emergency leave, not for vacation, but to attend his brother's funeral. His brother Wes had been shot outside a gas station. Wrong place, wrong time, and the man who pulled the trigger, known gang affiliation, out on bail. That night Logan followed a tip, a whisper in the wind. The guy was hiding out in an abandoned apartment outside Sutterville. Logan went alone. No badge, no backup, just instinct. And Duke in the back seat. The building was dark, damp, echoes of water dripping in corners. He found 2 men inside, both armed. There was shouting, a bottle shattered, a flash of metal. Duke lunged before Logan could issue a command. Gunfire erupted. When the chaos ended, 1 man was dead, the other bleeding out. And Logan. He was standing there with blood on his hands, and no one left to confirm his story. The dog had fled in the noise and smoke, disappeared. Logan's voice had dropped to a whisper now. "They said it was revenge, that I executed them. I told them I was trying to detain them until help arrived." "And Duke?" Jalen asked. "Gone. No body, no collar. They assumed he was injured and died in the field." Logan looked at Ranger again. But he didn't. The pieces didn't fit neatly anymore. Ranger's behavior, Logan's instinct, the scars on both of them, some visible, some not. Jalen's mind flicked through everything he'd been taught, everything he thought he knew about criminals, justice, loyalty. "Why didn't you tell the court about the dog?" he asked. Logan shrugged. Who was going to believe me? I was already guilty in their eyes. He gave a bitter smile. Besides, you don't get redemption from paperwork. You get it from memory, from proof that something good still remembers you as good. Ranger lifted his head, looked at Logan again. Jalen sat down across from him. The two men stared at each other, a low hum of thunder between their silence. You know they're gonna come through that door soon, Jalen said. Logan nodded. I know. And once they do, that's it. Logan reached out with his chained hands and rested them gently on Ranger's back. Then let me sit with him. Just a little longer. The storm hadn't let up. Thunder rolled softly outside the prison walls, but inside the room, there was peace. Logan leaned his back against the cold brick wall, knees pulled up, Ranger curled beside him like no time had passed. Jalen Brooks had stopped watching him like a cop. Now, he just looked like a man trying to figure out the story behind another man's eyes. You know, Jalen said, breaking the quiet, I didn't even want K-9 duty. I applied to work dispatch. Logan gave a half smile. What changed? Someone told me dogs are better judges of character than most people. Logan nodded slowly. They are. Jalen leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. Did you ever think about running? Every day, Logan admitted, but not from prison. From what then? Logan looked down at his hands. The guilt, the silence, knowing that I couldn't save my brother, knowing that no matter what I said, no one would listen. Ranger shifted, his head resting against Logan's boot. I think, Logan said softly, dogs don't just remember who we are. They remember who we were trying to be. There was a pause. Then, for the first time in hours, Logan chuckled. You know, he used to chew the hell out of my boots. Jalen raised an eyebrow. Ranger? Back when he was Duke. Thought my foot was a chew toy. I had to go through 3 pairs in one deployment. Jalen smirked. I can't imagine this guy chewing anything. He's like a robot with fur. Logan looked down. He was wild once, but I guess the world broke him into something useful. The silence that followed was soft, mutual, respectful, like 2 men sharing a campfire in the middle of a battlefield. Logan looked at Jalen, serious again. I don't expect anyone to fix this. Not anymore. But him, being here, remembering me. He paused, swallowing hard. That fixed something inside me. Jalen nodded slowly, then stood, and without a word he unhooked Ranger's leash, let it fall. The dog didn't move. He didn't need to. He was already exactly where he belonged. The room was still. Logan sat with his back against the wall, Ranger resting beside him like no time had passed, as if the last 7 years had never happened. Jalen stood near the door, hands in his vest pockets, eyes on nothing in particular. His thoughts had drifted far from protocol. The silence was no longer awkward. It was safe. But safety never lasts long in places like this. The door slammed open. Warden Rayburn stepped in, flanked by 2 officers and a federal agent in a grey suit. The mood shifted instantly. Ranger stood up, tense. Logan didn't move. Jalen straightened. Status? The warden barked. Jalen hesitated. No threat. The inmate's been compliant. The dog... The agent cut him off. We've verified the dog's origin. You were right, Creed. The animal was assigned to a K-9 military unit, overseas. Logan blinked. Hope stirred, cautiously. But, the agent continued coldly, the records make no mention of you as his handler. In fact, your file was sealed for discharge due to insubordination and endangerment of a team unit. The words landed like a slap. Logan exhaled slowly. I tried to save those men, he said, quieter than before. The agent stepped closer. Your story about the shooting, your rescue attempt, witness accounts place you on site, but there's still no physical evidence proving you didn't pull that trigger. And now, you've just used your last hour to manipulate a trained K-9 officer into gaining sympathy. Jalen stepped forward. He didn't manipulate. Officer Brooks, the the warden cut in. "Step back." Jalen's fists clenched. He looked at Logan, and Logan looked broken, not angry, not defiant, just tired. One of the guards approached with the chain leash. Ranger growled, low and primal. The agent snapped his fingers. "Control your dog, officer." Jalen moved slowly toward Ranger, but Logan raised one hand and barely. "It's okay, buddy," he whispered. "It's okay. You did good." Ranger whimpered and stepped back. Then, for the first time, he walked away from Logan. Not because he wanted to, but because he was told. As the leash clicked into place, Logan looked down at his shackled hands. "I didn't bring him here to change the outcome," he murmured. "I brought him here so I could feel like a human being again." The agent said nothing. The warden
"Take him
turned.
back."
Jalen didn't follow orders immediately. He lingered, watched Ranger glance back through the closing door, saw Logan nod one final time, a silent goodbye, one soul to another. The cell door slammed shut, metal echoed, chains rattled. Then, silence. Logan Creed sat on the edge of his cot, elbows on knees, eyes fixed on nothing. No one spoke to him on the walk back, no sorry, no maybe next time, just concrete beneath his boots and cold eyes at his back, and the emptiness left by the only creature who hadn't looked at him like a monster. He reached into his pocket. Nothing was there. They'd taken the photo long ago, the only one he had, of him and Duke in uniform. 2 soldiers, brothers, gone now. Jalen sat in the front seat of his patrol unit, engine idling. Rain streaked down the windshield like the sky was trying to wash something away. Ranger sat in the back, unusually still. He hadn't barked once since leaving Logan. Didn't even look out the window, just sat there, like something inside him had turned to stone. Jalen looked down at the leash coiled beside him, then at the file folder resting on the passenger seat. He opened it. Creed, Logan Matthew, discharged dishonorable. Charges, double homicide. Evidence, circumstantial. Witnesses, conflicted. Outcome, death sentence. Footnote, civilian canine never recovered, presumed killed in field. Jalen exhaled. "No," he whispered. He wasn't. He remembered the moment Ranger was assigned to him. The instructor said, "He's been through something. Doesn't bond easy, but once he picks you, that's it. He's yours." But what if? Jalen thought. What if he had never truly picked me? What if he was just waiting? Jalen's radio crackled. "Officer Brooks, confirm K9 return and prep for next rotation." He didn't respond. He looked at Ranger again. "Tell me the truth, bud," he whispered. "Was he yours before me?" Ranger didn't move, didn't blink, just stared ahead. Silent. But in that silence, Jalen heard it. The answer. He grabbed the leash, started the engine, and for the first time that morning, he didn't turn toward the precinct, he turned toward the prison. Have you ever stood at a crossroads, knowing the right thing might cost you something? Would you do it anyway? Let us know in the comments. The rain was slowing now, just a soft mist, like the sky had cried itself empty. Jalen Brooks pulled up to the main gate, headlights cutting through the grey. Ranger sat up in the back seat, alert, like he already knew where they were. "Officer Brooks?" came the confused voice on the intercom. "I need 10 minutes, Jalen said. "Off the record." A long pause. Then, the gate buzzed, opened. Logan didn't look up when the door opened. He assumed it was the guards coming for final prep. But then, the sound of claws, clicking softly against the floor. He looked up. Ranger, unleashed, unrestrained, and behind him, Jalen, holding a manila folder in one hand and something else in the other. A photo. Old, worn. A soldier with a crooked smile and a wild-eyed German shepherd sitting beside him in a desert. Logan swallowed hard. "You found it." Jalen nodded. They had it buried deep. Sealed records. You weren't lying. Logan didn't speak, didn't trust his voice. Jalen stepped forward, slipped the photo through the bars. "You trained him," he said, "and somehow..." He never forgot. I submitted an emergency appeal, Jalen said. Logan blinked. Based on what? New evidence, mishandled chain of custody, inconsistencies in witness testimony, and that dog. Logan's brow furrowed. That won't be enough. Jalen smiled slightly. No, but I added one more thing. He held up his badge. I attached my name to it. The warden stared at the document. I could lose my job for this, she said. Jalen didn't blink. You could save a life. She sighed, then picked up the phone. The door buzzed, opened. 2 guards stepped in, but not to chain Logan down. Creed, one said. You've been granted a temporary stay. You're not dying today. Logan didn't react at first, just blinked, then turned to Ranger. Guess we get a little more time, huh? Ranger wagged his tail once, just once, then stepped forward and nuzzled into Logan's chest. Do you believe true love, even the silent kind, can survive that long? Through war, betrayal, and time? If you do, hit subscribe. Because we tell stories like this, for the ones the world tries to forget, and maybe for the ones who still remember. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about loyalty, redemption, and what we'd do if it were us.